Hello, welcome back to another video tutorial here at Geekatplay Studios. My name is Gary Miller. I've got a video modeling project that I have coming up in the next week or so that I am going to be tackling. And one of the elements of that project requires me to model some curtains. And in the past, whenever I have the need to make curtains, I usually start off with a grid object and say in the V column I'll put 100. Validate that. Well, it looks to be a little large, so I think I'll turn it this way. There we are. Bring it up here. And there we are. Okay, in the past, whenever I have made curtains, I've usually just created a grid object like this, selected and looped a set of edges and used my soft selection tool and pretty much just created folds in the object like what I'm doing now. And well, while it does produce curtains, this is a rather time-consuming process just to add these folds in here. And when I started off today thinking about making curtains, because I have Modo, I thought about, well, Modo comes with just hundreds of models that they provide for you to use with your rendering project. So I thought I would start off in Modo to see what they have and get some ideas from there. Now before I switch over to Modo, here's my curtains in Hexagon, and I guess I could do better than this, but I'm just showing you an illustration on how I used to make curtains. And if you want to get a little bit more elaborate, you're going to have to spend a little bit more time. So let's go over to Modo and I'll show you what I found there and how I arrived at a better idea on making curtains. Down here in window treatments, I'm going to click on this object right here, and when I saw this yesterday I thought, wow, this is exactly what it is that I want, something that has a billowing effect like this. And I thought, well, I could do this in Hexagon very easily, or Cinema 4D, or Modo very easily, but I would use the same process as I had demonstrated earlier. But when I was looking at this object, I rotated it upwards like this, and the light bulb went on in my head when I saw the profile. Now check this out. Look at the profile that the curtain follows to create that billowing effect. I thought, wow. To make curtains like this, all I've got to do is create an edge, a line in Hexagon or a spline in Cinema 4D, and just create the profile of it and then let some of the tools do the rest of the work. So let me get out of Modo, come back here into Hexagon. Let me get rid of this object. I'm going to spin around here to a top view, just like this. Come over here to lines, and I will use my curve tool. Now I think I will bump this up to 9. It will give me a few more subdivisions. Okay, I'm just going to click here. Now I'm not trying to make absolutely perfect symmetrical curtains. That would be very easy. Just click on each of those lines. But I want to add something that kind of looks a little bit more unique. Okay, there's my line. Let me drag it up here, come over to vertex modeling, sweep surface, hit my space bar, drag straight down, validate that, click off of it, and voila, look at that. Instant curtains. That took me less than a minute. Less than a minute to create these curtains, and let's zoom in up close. That looks really good. It has that nice billowing effect, wrinkled effect of it only vertically, but that's what I want. I don't want horizontal wrinkles. I'm not creating, a wrinkled fabric like a shirt or a rag or a towel or something. This is exactly what I need, and it's all that I need for creating curtains, and it only has 135 polygons. Very simple, very low res, very efficient way to create curtains. So we've got our curtains. Let's add a texture to it. Now in this tutorial we're also going to come over in Photoshop, and there's kind of a hidden little trick on scaling down your patterns in Photoshop that maybe some people don't know about. You got to do a little bit of work to make it so that you can scale your patterns, but it probably takes all of about 10 seconds. So I'm going to come over here to a split screen view, and let's come over here to the UV Paint tab. I want to disable my dynamic geometry. In fact, I don't even need dynamic geometry. Okay, there is our UV map. If you look, you can see the separate pieces of our UV object, and this will work just fine. So I'm going to come down here to this little icon right here. And what this will do is it will save this layout of my object as a UV map. I'll save it on my desktop and call it test. There we are. Okay, I will come over here to Photoshop. Let me start that up and I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. I'm going to click on my, let me see, it's accessible. Let me just drag this down so you can see what I'm doing. I like to use the info window, which you can find under Windows up here, because that allows me to see what the size of my image is, and it's 405 by 405, and I think I might want something a little bit larger than that. So I am just going to, let me make this a separate layer rather than a background layer. I'm going to image and image size, I'll make it 1000 by 1000. That will make it a little bit better for when I apply my material to it. Well, now I need to find a pattern to put over this, and I'm going to open up Bridge and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm looking at some fabrics that I have, and let's say I want to make the curtains have this texture here. Bring it into Photoshop, and if I drag the layer over on top, place it right over, there we go, and click my check mark to OK that. Well, that looks fine, except that this texture will, in its current state, will cover the entire surface of our curtains, and it will look a little odd. What I need to do is scale this down. Now, I suppose I could scale it down like this and then create a whole bunch of copies of this, but that would be rather time consuming, and it would be a pain in the neck trying to do that. So forget that. Let's delete those. Let's come back over here. What I want to do, the most efficient way to do this is to define this texture as a pattern. So I'm going to hit Control A, which gives me my marching ants. It creates a selection out of this. Come up here to Edit, and I know it's off the camera. Come down here to Define Pattern. And I don't care what name it gives it. That's fine. I'm going to click OK. I don't need this document open anymore. I'll close it. No. Okay. I will double click on this layer. Opens up my layer styles. I'm going to come down here to Pattern Overlay. Click on Pattern Overlay, and that pattern, that tartan pattern that we just defined as a pattern, it'll be the last one right here. Now look, I've already got it repeating, or the scale of it has been reduced, and I can play with it and make it appear however I want it to, just like this. And so I'll start with that and click OK, and I'll save this, save as, and we'll just call it test. OK. Now let's come back to Hexagon, and we will create a texture for this. So open this up, and we'll create new, and we want this to be a texture image. So come on over here to my desktop, and I'll click on test. Let me come to a full screen. Whoops. Click on this one. Come to a full screen. Click off of my object. And there, in just a few moments, we have a perfect repeating texture for our curtains. And making curtains in Hexagon or any other modeling program, you follow these steps, it will be just this simple. So that's the end of this tutorial. I think this is a great way to make, not only a great way, but an efficient way to not only model curtains, but to use the define pattern function in Photoshop to be able to scale down your textures however you want. Now that is providing, of course, that you have a seamless texture. And I just uploaded the other day a Photoshop tutorial for making seamless textures, a good way of making seamless textures, and when that becomes available, you might want to check that out. So that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching here at Geekatplay Studios. My name is Gary Miller. Have a good day.